Green Cooling scores with the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show.
Well, hello, good evening and welcome. My name's Dave Parkinson. You are with us, the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show. You know, Steve, after all these weeks, I'm still coming up with new ways to start the show.
I noticed that you turned into David Frost then, did you notice? Hello, good evening and welcome. Obviously, our older listeners may remember who that was.
So is this a new nickname, Dave Frosty Parkinson? We've not even got to pre-season yet. We've not even finished this season.
All your names you're not going to get on your shirts. Machine Gun Parkinson, Frosty Parkinson.
I wouldn't care, but none of them are that flattering. So we are, of course, 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show, talking about Community Rugby League. So I should start with something like Established 2020, shouldn't I?
Yeah, you could do.
Established 2020, even though it was probably born this show a lot earlier.
No, you can't do that though.
Can I not?
No, because you know what the downfall is that people will start thinking that rugby league only started then. Because you remember Sky tried that tactic.
Is this why Josh Charnley's like second in the try scoring list?
Exactly, that's it.
Yeah, even though he's had a great career.
Yeah.
As is Ryan Hall, but obviously they're missing out the main man in the main men in sort of Billy Boston, Tom Van Vollenhoven and Brian Bevan, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, and nobody mentions Albert Rosenfield anymore, do they?
All those people who play for years and years,
and
put
scored a lot more points, a lot more tries.
Yeah. When scored a lot more points, when tries weren't worth as much as what they are today.
Exactly. But we've almost started another show there.
We digress.
We've almost started a look back with Dave and Steve, haven't we? You never know, that could be a new podcast coming to your listening pleasure at some point in the future. But no, we are the Community Rugby League Show. We are getting towards the end. We are in the business end of the season now, aren't we? So this coming weekend, we've got the National Conference League Grand Final. We've got the Division 1 playoff final for the last spot in the National Conference League Premier Division next season. All those things have been decided. Now, it's down to who's best on the day, isn't it?
It certainly is. It's and obviously we were out at the weekend doing one of our commentaries, and obviously the other semi-final was played at the same time, and two contrasting games which we'll obviously talk about.
We certainly will. It was also Grand Finals Day as well for the North West Men's League, wasn't it? So we'll reflect upon the results and talk a little bit about, I suppose, what's been a very, very good season, hasn't it, for the North West Men's League?
I think so, yeah. I mean, obviously, the way we've looked through, there's certain teams who've caught our eye, and we have kept an eye on, it's been very competitive.
And also, we've also got Cumbria to look forward to. They've got two finals over the next 2 weekends, haven't they?
They have finals every weekend, don't they?
I love it. I genuinely love it, the fact that they play for so many cups and stuff. It does make things really, really interesting, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
So, shall we start up in Cumbria?
Yep.
So, as we mentioned, two finals to come. The big one this weekend, this Saturday, is the Firpress Printers Cumberland Cup final. And guess who's in it, Steve?
I'd have a shot at one, Wasbrow.
Yeah, that's right. Maryport being the other side. The two of them have gone head to head. They'll know each other's games backwards by the time that the season finishes, because those two teams are playing again next week. But all eyes will be on Maryport's athletic ground this Saturday when the Firpress Printers Cumberland Cup final will be played between Maryport and Wasbrow A. The top four final playoff is then to be played at Wasbrow's Giel Park ground on Friday, October the 11th, with a 6:45pm start. Maybe half the teams are on a night shift. Maybe that's why they need to be starting at that time.
Could well be.
Now, again, our friends from Cumbria Crack, who've been providing us with some of this fantastic footage over the course of the season, they've reported that the decision to give a final to each of the two competing teams has been well received, and it gives them both the chance to boost bar revenues. Loughborough are chasing 4 trophies. They've already won the EB Lamb and Sun Amateur Cup and the Holman Iggerson Cumberland League Premier Division title. Maryport have been runners-up to the Brow in the Championship Player Final, but last year beat them in the Amateur Cup Final. So, for me, that's 2, I suppose, king hit clashes, isn't it, between them 2?
Yeah, definitely.
Now, we've built up the big Firpress Printers Cumberland Cup final. We know that that's happening this Saturday. But what about what happened this past weekend? Well, Maryport, they mounted an astonishing recovery to account for Cockermouth Titans. They won by 40 points to 28 after extra time in the Holman Iggerson Cumberland League Top 4 semi-finals. Liam Anderson led the way with 2 tries and 6 goals, while Lee Skillen also bagged a brace of tries, and the remaining touchdowns went the way of Liam Penman, Ellis Nixon and Elliot Woodall. The Titans, they set up a 28 points to 10 lead ahead of the break through touchdowns by Liam McAvoy, who grabbed 2, Ethan Cross, Dave Whitworth and Lewis Bancroft, 4 of which were goaled by Regan Tinian. But ultimately, it was Maryport that won through. I mean, that's a class win, that, after extra time, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is.
Meanwhile, Loughborough A cruised to a 46-6 win against Kells A in the other semi-final, closing with 2 tries by Tom Clark and touchdowns for Nat Duggan, Jackson Ben, Luke Spivey, Luke Davison, Scott Goodwin, Greg Rooney and James Dixon. Rooney improved 4 efforts, and Sam Kerwin, who we know that name from the NCL side.
Yeah.
I think there's been a couple of things mentioned about NCL players taking the field, but let's be honest, they can do. It's within the rules. Sam Kerwin landed the remaining goal. Lloyd O'Neill crossed for Kells, and Dan Starkey added the extras. Meanwhile, there was also the Division 1 playoff final at Seaton Rangers, and that went the way of Dissington A, who saw off Espatria Hornets by 24 points to 6. Dissington scored tries through Jack Worthington, Robbie Joe Worthington, Callum Fox and Jaden Hewer, each of which was improved by Brandon Walker, so he grabbed 4 goals in the end. Jordan Moore dotted down for Espatria, and Ben Tootle added the extras for their points. So a reminder of those scores in the Premier Division Top 4 playoff: Loughborough Hornets A 46, Kells A 6, Maryport 40, Cockermouth Titans 28 after extra time, and in the Division 1 Grand Final, Espatria 6, Dissington A 24.
It's funny that, Parky. I was watching, my wife likes to watch Matt Baker's Travels with Mum and Dad.
Okay.
Yeah. And they travel around up near where he lives in Northumbria type way. Anyway, they were travelling to this place, and it came up. It said, we made our way over to Cockermouth, and I said to my wife, I said, they've got a rugby league team there. She said, how do you know? I said, because we talk about them every week on the show.
We do talk about them every week.
They've Cockermouth Titans, they said they're called.
They've had a good season, haven't they? Yeah. And certainly for players that I'd like to think that we've talked about and given some quite considerable airtime this season to, actually. Regan Tinian, he's never far away from anything that we mention, is he? A really, really good goal kicker. And I suppose as well, after being so competitive all the way through the season, Cockermouth are going to be a little bit disappointed that they haven't made the top 4 playoff final, but I think they can still hold their heads up high for what they've achieved this year, can't they? Yeah,
I totally agree. And as I say, what I was pleased with was not only, obviously, recognise it on the Matt Baker's Travels, it was the fact that it came up there, and I thought, I know that. The reason I know that is it's obviously from us covering the Cumbrian leagues, and there's been other names on there which they've got a rugby team there.
See, just think of it. I've really expanded your geography here, haven't I?
Yeah. And some lovely places to go up there as well.
You're already making a note, aren't you? You've already got a note down here. Must visit Cockermouth.
There was another one as well where it was they were renovating. A couple were renovating a old. It was a school or church hall, and it was in not Windscale, but it's near there.
Yeah.
And there was obviously a couple of other places they mentioned around there, and the same sentence came out. they've got a rugby team there. They've got a rugby team.
Or at least you're saying they used to have a rugby team, though. At least you weren't saying that.
Oh, no.
I mean, that's all good.
Yeah,
all good. So that is the Cumbrian scene all wrapped up for this week. Shall we move on to the Northwest Men's League? And there was an interesting weekend of finals, wasn't there, Steve?
Yeah, obviously all the finals were being played this weekend, and they were all being played at Tatterheath Crusaders ground, which, as we were there a couple of weeks ago on it was a Wednesday night lights, if I remember right.
It was. I do like a midweek game.
And we were saying, really, what a great ground it is, and it is. It's not sort of unusual that they were selected to host that, because it is a really good venue, and it kicked off on Saturday. Was the first games, and the first one was Ironpool Tigers against West Bank Bears in Division 2 playoff, and that was won by Ironpool Tigers quite convincingly, actually, 34 points to 10. So I've got to say a massive congratulations to them on obviously finding promotion and winning the league as well, because they have had a great season too. Then the Division 1 final, that was between Dalton and the team we've been talking about, which was West Oulton Lions, who'd been playing really, really well. But Dalton too, another team that have been playing great this season, and they came out winners 28 points to 16. And finally, on the Saturday, it was the final of the Premier Division. And as we were talking there about Wasbrow and Murrayport clashing heads so many times this season, very much the same in the Premier Division. It was Haresfinch against Old Falls Oral St James, and it was Haresfinch who took the prize and came out winners 14 points to 4. I've got to say, they've had an absolutely fantastic season, Haresfinch. I mean, Oral St James haven't had a bad season because they've sort of been on the other end of the defeat in the final, on a regular basis. But nevertheless, congratulations to Haresfinch there.
It's been a season for Haresfinch that I don't think anybody connected with the club will forget. And although they've been good when they've been running in the points, for me it's that defensive steel that they've shown. I've had the pleasure of seeing them a few times this season, as have you, to be honest, Steve. And you've got to be a good side to score points past Haresfinch, haven't you? That's what's been proven this season. Even when you get to a grand final, and Oral St James, and we know that they are a team that can put the points on. When they're only able to add 4 points onto the scoreboard, that says that Haresfinch really have been. Well, for me, that sums up their season in that they just don't give much away. Yeah,
and they won this season. Obviously, they were winners of the actual league, and they never lost a match, if I'm correct there. So they got League Leaders Shield. They won the Northwest Men's League Cup, and they came out as grand final winners as well there.
So a deserved treble. So we were talking about Wathbrow Hornets fighting on the front of all 4 trophies available in Cumbria. Haresfinch have completed the job of all 3 available trophies to them at Northwest Men's League level, haven't they?
Yeah, so you've got to say, a massive congratulations there. That was the 3 games that were played on the Saturday, so they're from the 3 top divisions. Then on Sunday, it was the turn of Division 3 and Division 4. Division 3 saw Garswood Stags up against Banky Bulls. Banky Bulls came out winners there, 30 points to 12.
They've had another really good season, haven't they, Banky Bulls?
They have. In fact, that's back-to-back. They won the competition last year. If I'm not wrong, I think they won it against Runcorn last year. But yeah, that's congratulations to them. Again, as I was saying at the beginning of the season, I thought they'd do well in that league, and they proved me right at there.
And fair play to Garswood as well for fighting their way through, to the final there as well.
Yeah, because the thing is with Garswood are one of those teams who can blow hot and cold is probably the wrong phrase in some respects, but there's sometimes they'll be absolutely bursting in, and then they'll start stuttering quite a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong, that can happen with a lot of clubs, community clubs, but they're always there or thereabouts. And then finally in Division 4, it was Warriors up against Langworthy Reds. And if you remember rightly at the beginning of the season, I said I thought Warriors would go through the season without getting defeated. Unfortunately, I think they lost 2 matches, but obviously they got through to the final. And it was, as I said, against Langworthy Reds. And they came out winners 60 points to 14.
I mean, talk about leaving a high-scoring performance for your last game. I don't think we've seen a win of that magnitude in a grand final, have we? I certainly can't recall.
I can't remember, no. But yeah, Warriors are certainly are putting together a team there. I remember when we started this show in its early formats, when we were on the community radio, and Warriors then had an open age side who were good, and we were surprised when they folded. It was a shock. And obviously we were speaking to the guys there, and they would say they were trying to rebuild. The club was still there in its format with the junior side, and have done very, very well in expanding that. But obviously as they said, they got the band back together, got some known names in there which I remember from when we used to cover it back then. It's going on from strength to strength. It's whether they've now got the numbers underneath, the younger numbers underneath as they move on. Because I'm sure much the same as we said about Bank Keyballs and Runcorn, Highfield. I'm sure they'll move along that sort of trajectory as well.
And to be fair as well, I mean, Bank Key sort of like raced through all the divisions, didn't they? Yeah. And were on top of the world, or on top of the Northwest Men's League world for a number of years, weren't they? Before falling away and those players getting old, and then there not being the same players to replace them. So they've had to step away and go back in. So in some ways, they've paved the way for the likes of Haydock to come back, and it's great to see these names sort of climbing their way back up.
It certainly is. Yeah, West Bank Bears in there as well. To a final, another one. But just before we finish on the Northwest Men's competition, I think a couple of weeks back we were talking about the fact that the Northwest Men's competition had a number of Cumbrian sides in there, and we were discussing, because I likened it to the NCL from a travelling point of view. They still got to do those same miles as what the NCL counterparts would do. And when you look at Dalton and Hyndpool, both turned in great performances, great wins. You've got to set your hat off to them. And Dalton against West Oulton Lions was a great win. Hyndpool against West Bank Bears, but both of them during the year as well have competed and
they've been really good sides, haven't they? So they deserve all the success that they've had, and they seem to have gone about things quietly, but yet been very effective, haven't they? Yeah,
because you look at Dalton, out of their 18 matches, they played 14. They only lost 1. They actually drew 3, and 31 points. Just pipping Inland. They were about 5 points in front of them there. And then if we look at Hyndpool Tigers, it's a similar sort of thing as well. 14 games, won 13, only lost 1. 26 points, just pipping West Bank Bears, who were second in 21 points. So the bottom line is, congratulations to both of those sides. Congratulations to everybody who got to the finals, first and foremost. But to those two teams who put a lot of miles in, on a every other week basis, and it's great to see. We talk about all the other teams that are up there in. Both of these teams, I suppose, could compete again in it was the Holman Higson's League. But they choose to do the Northwest Men's. So again, well done, guys, well done.
Right, Steve, you know what? As I thought everything had finished over in Yorkshire.
Yorkshire?
Yeah. Well, the BARLA Yorkshire Cup is on. So if you remember, we actually started our season, didn't we, last year, by going over to Featherstone for the Yorkshire Cup final.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we can do the same thing again next year. In fact, I'm already almost marking it down in the calendar, because I'm sure by the time I get round to like early January or late December, I'm going to be buzzing for a rugby league game.
I've got to say, hats off to Egremont. who liked my idea of the winners of the North West Men's League playing against the winners of the Yorkshire Men's League.
Oh, you had to get that in, though.
And possibly a Champions of Champions with NCL against down the teams from down south.
They did really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I wonder who's going to be paying for it. That's still my question to you.
This is where you got to get out and get your sponsors. Because it's, for me, certainly the North West Men's versus the Yorkshire Men's, it's a no-brainer in the sense that it's on a plate Yorkshire Roses, War of the Roses game. It's so,
In that case, Steve, because I was sort of saying it, if you was going to invite, like people to take part in that competition, so you've got like your champions against your champions.
Yeah.
And I said, well, who's going to play the Cumbrian champions? Could you get the BARLA Yorkshire Cup winners?
Yeah, you could do, yeah. I don't see why not.
I don't know. Gives that a bit more prestige as well.
It certainly does. As long as the BARLA Yorkshire Cup winners are the same team that won that won the Yorkshire Men's League.
Okay.
Because that would be tricky, both, playing 2 day, Saturday and Sunday.
Team.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be a little bit tricky. We're already overworking players there, aren't we? Yeah. What do we know? But yes, it was the first round of the BARLA Yorkshire Cup at the weekend, Steve. And I can give you the results. So, Cutsike Raiders 18, Eastmoor Dragons 0, East Hull 82, Featherstone Lions 0, Ossett Trinity 4, Thornhill Trojans 28. So already we're down to the quarter-final stage. So those games are going to happen this coming weekend. Thornhill Trojans are at home against Booth Town Terriers.
Love that.
Murfield are at home to Cutsike Raiders. Upton will take on the Huddersfield Sharks, and Charleston Rovers will host East Hull. Some good names involved in that one, isn't there?
There is some great names.
And there is also, would you believe it or not, Huddersfield Rugby League. Okay, there's a bit of a roundup regarding Huddersfield Rugby League in the League Express this week. So this one says, scrum half Josh Wilcock was the man of the match and scored one of his side's 9 tries as Almondry Spartans beat Emily Moor Cougars 50 points to 10 in Friday evening's Huddersfield ARL Holliday Cup final. Lewis Toner bagged a brace in the triumph, and other try scorers included Lewis Boyle, Jan Jazulo, Ben Mather, Seth Clapham and Elijah Deladrita. I recognise that name. Elijah. So that's where he's playing now. Fair enough. Okay. Callum Malloway and Ryan Johnson replied for Emily, and Terry Brown landed a conversion. So he's an Almondry Spartan, is Elijah Deladrita.
There you go.
I'm glad to see that he's playing his rugby, or he's taken to playing his rugby elsewhere as well, because he was coming through the ranks in the North East, wasn't he? If you remember conversations that I've had with him. He is a good player. I'm looking forward to seeing how he develops. You're on my radar, son. Fantastic to hear that. Well, let's move over to the National Conference League, shall we?
And why not?
So, just the 3 games took place at the weekend. The first one, perhaps the biggest of the question was going to be, who would join Siddal in the National Conference League Premier Division Grand Final? Would it be West Hull, or would it be Hunslet? So Hunslet had lost to West Hull twice already this season. They didn't lose, or Hunslet didn't lose when it mattered. The defending champions, who will face Siddal in the decider at Featherstone, scored 4 tries to West Hull's 1, but trailed for 57 of the game's 80 minutes. Wests, who lack several regulars through injury and suspension, gone off. Wests, who lacked several regulars through injury and suspension, a situation mirrored by their visitors, went in front in the 12th minute through the inspirational Ryan Steen. Ryan Wilson added the extras, and that was enough to keep the hosts in front until 11 minutes from time, when the visitors, who other than through a try by Jake Dearden on 24 minutes, had been unable to convert their pressure into points. Josh McClelland made the most of a sizzling raid to nose his side in front with a touchdown on 69 minutes, and almost from the restart, Tyler Dargan swept over. Although neither score, nor that one by Dearden earlier, was converted, Jordan Gale did not quite have his kicking boots on. This was explained by his coach Sam Thorpe by saying he's been in hospital all week because his girlfriend's just had a baby. So the South Leeds outfit were in control, 12 points to 6 ahead.
So why was he in hospital if it was his girlfriend who'd had the baby?
Maybe we were visiting.
He's shocked, he fell and banged his head.
But there was no way back for the Green and Golds, for whom second row Ben Arben excelled, when Danny Rouse, who was the player of the match, nipped over in the closing stages and added the goal. So that was a great win for Hunslet. Perhaps in a lot of ways snatch and grab, but you get to this time of year, you can't bet against them, can you?
The bottom line is with Hunslet, they've been there, done it, got the T-shirt, so they know how to go through this scenario. So that puts them through to the final, as you say, against Siddal.
Against Siddal, yeah.
So how many finals in a row will that be that they've been to?
If you include before the time they became Hunslet ARLFC, then
which I think you can.
We're talking the third final in a row. They're on for the three-peat. Could be a three-peat for them.
And they'll want to do that. There's no ifs and buts about that.
I want to talk a little bit more about that final in a few minutes' time. I want to reflect on Division 1. So obviously we were over at Ince Rose Bridge, weren't we, at the weekend when they took on Crosfields. Would it be Crosfields who would get through, or would it be Ince Rose Bridge? Well, here's the best of the action. Eccleston sends this one goalward, and the flags are raised, so that's goal number 30 for his season. Kick goes really high, it's coming down with snow on it. Airbrun shots it, and they'll surge their way over Ince Rose Bridge. They score the first try of the game. It goes the way of Pete Valentine, 13th try of the season. Lucky 13th for him. Where's Eccleston? Well, he gets the ball away quickly. They've dabbed it forward. It cuts it up. That's brilliant pick-up.
It's got
a wonderful pick-up from Fillingham. Fillingham will kick it over the top. It'll bounce, it'll bobble up in favour, and they've scored again. Superb from Ince Rose Bridge. Callum Hughes touches down on what a last tackle play that was. Comes to the right side. Interception. Tell you what, he's going to go all the way here, surely. But there's Abrams catching up with him. Got the ball inside.
Superb try. Great interception, great support.
And it's Jack Heaton that went all the way there.
Good run from dummy after he's through again. The support underneath, and it's Cal Malone gone in under the post.
You know, that was superb play that from Ince Rose Bridge. How quick is Aspinall out of dummy half?
Lovely run from dummy half there, and again got the support.
Good run from Aspinall. Handing the ball off to Hughes. Hughes, open pasture in front of him. He'll go underneath the post. Athletic dive too. I won't say swan dive. It was more like a belly flop over the line, but it was all good.
Again, ball comes out to the right-hand side to Stanway. Stanway trying to make his way through, but again held up just short of the line. Can they make this tell? The ball comes out to number 8, Tom Millington. As his way over the arms. Well done, Millington. They're getting under just to the left-hand side of the sticks.
And well taken by Jones, who hands in field. Now it's to the left. They're over again. It's Heaton at the corner. Heaton picking up the pieces there. The ball was worked out his way. Superb bit of play from Ince Rose Bridge. Now Steele. Spins it wide, it's been spilled. Jones kicks it forward. Here come Boyd. TJ Boyd has touched down. Great bit of anticipation from him. He's been excellent this afternoon. Really impressed me as Aspinall. Plays it shy of the halfway line. Boyd. Out to Malone. Malone out to Heaton. Heaton down the wing. And he scored on the corner. Hat trick score is that. Great play. Breaking through the middle. Pete Valentine kicking forward. It's one for Callum Hughes to chase. He's kicked it forward and he's picked it up. And as he scored, he's got it over the line. Brilliant from Callum Hughes. Wonderful play. And he's had his hat trick as well.
I think it could well be.
It's Millington. Big charge. Wrestled to the floor. 5 metres out from the line. This defence. Will it hold on Barber? It won't hold on Barber. He's charged his way underneath the posts. Oh, it's a big try from Matt Barber. I'm really pleased for him. He's really put his heart and soul into community rugby league in the Warrington area. Comes up with his try, makes it 48 points to 10. Barber is going to take the conversion attempt as well. Knows that this is his last game. In he steps. Toe pokes it over. 48 points to 12. Referee's whistle sounds. That is the final score, and it's Ince Rose Bridge who go off to Featherstone to play in the Division 1 Grand Final.
Green cooling keeps the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League show cool, even when tackles get heated.
What a game.
It was, and you know, it sounds when you and looks when you look at the score as though it was one-sided. You know, Crosfields competed. Just Ince Rose Bridge, as I said in commentary, all the chances that came up, they took those opportunities and came away with that scoreline.
And to be fair as well, they punished any of the errors that Crosfields had.
Yeah.
And it was a bit of a mixed team, wasn't it, that Crosfields put out. Admittedly, they had a young hooker playing out on the wing. They had a regular prop forward playing in the centres.
Who played very well,
Who played excellently. I mean, nothing got past him, did it? You know, and
if
he was
you remember,
rock solid.
There was a tattle. They made a break. Ince Rose Bridge made a break down the right-hand side where we were. For everything, you'd have put all your money in your wallet on them going in the wing. But it was a cracking tattle by Tom Smith, I think it was, wasn't it?
Great chase back from him. Really good. I mean, that's got to be the positive side of that for Crosfield. The fact that, you know, we talk about players showing versatility and playing out of position, and there's a lot of that happens, particularly in community rugby. But, you know, it's rare that somebody jumps from being in the front row one week to playing out wide the next.
And the thing is that it's a catch-22, isn't it? When you're on the wrong end of a scoreline, you can do one or two things. You can put your cue on the rack and really get a good hiding, or you can, okay, let's have a go at, you know, sort of getting some pride, etc. And that last 15 minutes, it really threw the ball about, and some little. In fact, if you remember rightly, I think there was 3 dropouts on the trot that Ince Rose Bridge had to do, didn't they?
I was going to say it was more the short kicking game, and putting the pressure and building the pressure. So they really earned that last try from Barber. Yeah. And what a story for him. 39 years of age. He's been a regular this season for Crosfields, coming off the bench mainly, but was forced into a starting role because of the lack of personnel that was available. I thought he had a really, really good game, to be honest, as well, for Crosfields.
He did. Yeah.
I'm sure that he could go another 10 years, you know.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if he's not out of that park next season in some way, shape or form. Maybe not a full season, but maybe, you know, sort of the odd off trip off the bench when they're a little bit on the short side.
Well, we've seen it before, haven't we? Players who've said that they are packing in, and the next thing you know, the boots are all laced up again and they're taking their spot, particularly if, like you say, teams are a little bit short on numbers, or, you know, they get the bug back, because that's a big thing, isn't it?
It certainly is,
you know, through chatting to a lot of players, I think that's the thing that they miss most when they do pack in. It's that camaraderie, you know, that they've had, and I don't think anything can quite replace it, can it?
No, and we discussed this, don't we, about that camaraderie, and it's not just at professional clubs, you know. I was watching a couple of YouTube clips this week of James Graham speaking to David Furley, who played for Saints for only one season, but he's held up that in really high esteems, and he was going through a lot of the players and and some of the not what you would class as the well-known Saints players in that respect, and that was good to hear. And it's the same sort of thing with community. You know, the mates off the field just as much as they are on the field, and you can understand at times where it says, "Oh, we've got 8 missing this week because it's somebody's wedding."
Yeah.
And that is understandable because that's what they are. You know, you get an invite to a wedding off your mates you play rugby with. Yeah, of course I'm going to go to your wedding. You know, I want to support you on your big day.
So following that success for Ince Rose Bridge, I caught up with their boss, Darren Blakeley, afterwards, and this is our conversation.
13 Pro-Am, giving a voice to Community Rugby League.
Well, Darren, I'm catching up with you in the aftermath of getting through to the Division 1 Grand Final. How does that feel, mate?
It feels quite good, mate, to be honest. Yeah, we're all happy to get there, and what will next week we'll bring. Yeah, we're buzzing, to be honest.
Want to talk to you about this game, what we've just witnessed.
Yeah.
I mean, 48 points to 12 on the scoreboard sounds really handsome. For me, though, I thought you was pretty ruthless in punishing their mistakes.
We did, yeah. I think Crosfields brought, you know, they had a good dig at us, but you're right there saying we did capitalise on a lot of their mistakes, and we did a lot of things right today. So yeah, it was really good performance.
And compared with like last week, it almost seemed like you didn't have a lot of creativity, but this week, that was there in abundance.
Yeah, we was lacking personnel last week. That's what it was, a bit of personnel, a bit of leadership. This week we've got the lads back, so the leaders was on the field and took the young lads forward. But rightly so, you're right there what you're saying. Last week we got punished in exactly what we've done to Crosfields today, so yeah, all good.
It's almost swings and roundabouts, isn't it?
Oh, of course it is. That's rugby league for you. I think you get some good days, some bad days, and luckily today's been a good day for us.
I know I spoke to you earlier on in the season when you was on a good run.
Yeah.
You managed to get back to a good run come the end of the season, because I think this is now like 5 wins in the last 6 games.
Yeah, I think it is.
You must be pretty pleased about it.
Yeah, I'm very pleased. Like I said, we got the lads in about 6 weeks ago, and we just had a little bit of a chat, and we said, right, we're on a journey and we'll just see where we can go. And obviously we got through to the final, and you know, it's a great achievement for us in the club, and the lads are buzzing, so let next week come.
I'm conscious that I've sort of imposed my opinion on this and said where I thought. From your point of view, what did you think went well today?
I thought what went well today was our game plan. We knew what Crosfields are all about. I thought we went really well down the middle. We sucked them in, and then we hit them out wide. I think that mainly all our tries was out wide. We broke them down, and I was pleased with that. I was pleased with our kicking game. But most of all, there's some young kids in there today. I think 2 of them scored an hat-trick. And do that against any side in the NCL is, you know, a good achievement. But I thought today we controlled the game how we wanted it to go, and we wasn't forcing anything. So I was pleased with that. We made a couple of sloppy errors at end of game, but that was just due to Crosfields never giving up, to be honest. So credit to them. They scored a late try, but that, you know, I think we gave 3 dropouts in the last 5 minutes. So yeah. Credit to Crosfields, and I was happy. We have to improve, obviously. I think we've got Dewsbury next week. They have to improve. But, you know, it was a good game all round.
You had your battles with Dewsbury this season, haven't you? You know, and but you know, it's going to be another 80 minutes, isn't it? And you know, the big prize at the end of it.
Oh, it's going to be another 80 minutes. Don't get me wrong. It is. Dewsbury, a very good side. They beat us last week, 18-6. It was a good game of rugby, to be honest. We played them here, so it's kind of 50-50 game going into it. I know they're probably missing some personnel, so are we. Next week, I think 5 or 6 lads who've played today will not be there next week, but there'll be opportunities for young lads coming in and you know, playing in the final. So it'll be a good game, yeah. But to me, it's a 50-50 shot.
Just talking about that, Darren, you know, because like obviously modern rugby league, it's almost like you need about 50 players to complete the season now, isn't it?
Well, you kind of do, don't you? To be honest, you get niddles, you get injuries, you've got families going on holiday. The lads there's 5 of them going on holiday. It's nothing to do with being injured. We've got a couple of troops back, but it's just rugby league for you in general, and we haven't got a big squad. We have struggled this year, but I think everybody else is in the same boat as us.
And to be fair as well, would you, because when obviously you get your draft fixtures, don't you, and you get all your dates and everything, you know, would you have thought that you were going to be in the playoffs and you was going into like a grand final way back when?
No, you don't. You don't look at that. You know, you just it's a very hard competition. 6 weeks ago we started thinking, right, we can, you know, but no, not from the beginning of the season. So lads have got holidays and work, you know, so they can only get on holiday at certain times of year, and it's across the board. That's not just us, that's every team we speak to every week. You know, you'll play a team, and then you think next time you play them, where's all your lads gone? And, you know,
because there used to be a time when you'd look and you think, well, we know how that 7 goes, we know how that 9 goes, we know how that 10 plays.
Well, that's the worst thing about it. When you're prepping for a team what you've played, and then you get a different side, it's then you're back to, you know, drawing board. Hold on, so you've got to just play what's in front of you week in and week out.
Thank you so much. Congratulations on getting through to the final.
Thank you.
I know it's been has this season defied expectation for you, or was you always hoping to get this far?
If I'm honest, if we'd have kept the team all year and trained, I think we'd have been promoted automatically. I really do that. We're here for a reason, because I've got a good bunch of lads, but we've had to work hard, a lot harder, you know, training. We've gone down to 1 week, to be honest, for the last 14 weeks, and that's really, you know, so it's been hard, it's been tough, but like I said, we're just on a roller coaster, we're just enjoying the ride, and what will be will be.
Every tackle, every try, every scrum. Green Cooling is proud to be part of the Community Rugby League family.
Thanks to Darren for his time there, and it was a really generous interview, that one. What I also thought as well, though, so 2 points from it. So lastly, the point that he was making, which was regarding you know, about, I suppose, prepping and going down to one training session a week. That's something that I think, if I remember rightly, we've spoke to a couple of clubs who've also done that because of the numbers that they've got.
That's right, yeah.
And they've gone for the best night when as many people as possible are available.
Yeah, so it's sort of making the best out of not a bad thing, but do you know what I mean? I mean, from a business sense, you know, of at least getting all your guys together, I suppose you've got more chance of telling everybody, you know, the same thing and getting used to the same players, etc. If you've got, you know, the core of your squad together, that means that they only get down and get together once. Is it massively, you know, wrong? I don't think so.
I don't think it's wrong. It just means that you probably only got half the preparation time that you would do for a lot of the other teams. So are some of those other teams at an advantage, do you think? Or?
Sure, it's...
But it is making the most of it.
I agree.
And I suppose as well, if they're training Tuesday and Thursday, for example,
and you've
only got 6 players or 10 players available on a Tuesday, and you've got 30 on a Thursday, and you've got different players available.
Exactly.
How do you get it all together? You know, where if you can get it, everybody available, or majority available on one night.
Basically, it's quality training time that you've got to look for, isn't it? You know, to get the most out of what you've got, so it can perform as best as it can on that Saturday.
And I like my little conversation that I had with him as well about prepping for teams, because as I say, in the past, you would have been able to look and think, well, you know, they've got a really good fullback, they've got a really good centre, they've got a really crafty halfback and a big 10. And next thing you know, those players aren't playing, so you don't know anything about the guys that are taking the shirts. Yeah,
I totally agree. And do you know what? I'd never thought about that. But it's a regular thing. It makes you wonder, do the coaches at this level, do they take note of that sort of thing? I'm sure they're aware of certain players, but I'm sure they're cautious about, well, okay, if it's somebody else, you know, is it going to make a massive amount of difference? You know what they always say, we concentrate on our own game because we can only control what we can control. Which is true at the end of the day, isn't it?
It certainly is. In the other promotion playoff semi-final, you had Oulton Raiders, who were going across to Dewsbury Moor Maroons. So Darren's already given it away. Dewsbury Moor Maroons were successful. But a quick word for Oulton Raiders, because they've got to the last 2 promotion finals. So in a lot of ways, they're a club that is still on the right track, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, and that's all you can ask for, isn't it? If you can't get promoted, you've got to be the first one who's not been able to make it in that respects. I know it's disappointing, but it shows you're not dropping off the year after, is it?
What this game did show is some tremendous some tremendous consistency, I suppose you can say, from Dewsbury Moor, because they beat the Raiders 12 points to 4 at home and 36-20 away in the league. And they look to be firmly on course for a third success over the county rivals when Jack Butterfield and Harry Hartley crossed in the first 14 minutes. Greg Culbridge added both goals. The pendulum appeared to have swung Oulton's way, however, when Matty Stableford crashed over on 25 minutes and Kieran Walpole dotted down 4 minutes later into the second period. Walpole converted each score to restore parity. But the Maroons had no intention of allowing that revival to continue. George Woodcock raced over on 50 minutes, Hartley converted, and a penalty goal by Hartley as the Raiders' Robbie Powell was sin-binned for a high challenge gave the hosts a 20 points to 12 lead as the match went into the final quarter. More effectively built their passage with tries in the last 8 minutes for Butterfield and Brad Adams, both of which were converted by Culbridge. Harvey Stevens scored a last gasp consolation, which Walpole improved, but Oulton ultimately were beaten by 32 points to 18. Again, this sets up what is a really, really interesting Division 1 decider, doesn't it, in the National Conference League?
Certainly does, and obviously the two teams are evenly matched. Really, when you look at how the scores have gone, we've seen them both play. And it's going to be, it's going to be really, really hard to call.
Now, looking at how both of these sides are going as well, I agree with you on that, because both of them now have 5 wins in the last 6 games. Ince Rose Bridge's last defeat came at Dewsbury Moor in that game that was played behind closed doors a few weeks ago. But I think it will be a really different encounter come Saturday.
Yeah, and I think both teams will take a good set of supporters.
Oh yeah. Well, they'll be keen to actually see the rugby between those two sides, won't they? After not being able to go for the misdemeanours, which both of us were charged for earlier on in the year. But that's by the by now. Yeah. That's ancient history, and certainly something that I mentioned on this show when I was over at Dewsbury Moor was the cordial way that both sides went about the business post-match and the way that they talked with each other, and you could see that there were friendships there. So it was amazing sort of being there and thinking, how did this all kick off in the first place? So hopefully we never see any of those scenes again. No. Both sides have, obviously served the punishment, and I think we're in for a cracking final. I wanted to pick out a couple of players that I thought might make a difference for their sides, here. So from a Dewsbury Moor point of view, I've gone with the standoff or loose forward, Louis Walker. Now, I've seen him. He is basically one of the biggest guys that you can possibly imagine who can play 6. He's very statuesque. He's a tall lad, blonde hair, kicks well out of hand. He's never far away from prompting the action, is he?
When we saw him play against Wigan St Pat's, did he play fullback?
No. He was playing. He was playing 6 on that day.
6 on that game.
Yeah, he was playing 6 on that day. I got a beautiful shot of him the other day when I was taking my pictures. When I was doing Shotgun Parkinson was
Machine Gun Parkinson
unleashed. Machine Gun Parkinson. Yeah, okay, I need another nickname in there. And it was of him dropping the ball on his boot to kick it forward.
Yeah.
And he does look like he makes the sport look so simple.
Yeah. And they stand out, those, don't they?
They do. And he always seems like he buys himself some time.
I knew you're on about
that. That's where you get the class, isn't it? That's where you see that.
Good goal kicker as well.
Really, well, a good goal kicker, goal kicking duties have been split between him. He's kicked 38 this season. And Greg Culbridge, you've mentioned quite a bit over recent weeks when we've been reviewing Dewsbury Moor, who's kicked 42 goals, scored 5 tries as well as Greg. He's a player that can play in the centres. He can also play second row as well. But the real sort of finisher that they've got in their armoury there at Dewsbury Moor is Jake Butterfield. So 21 games, 20 tries. So I mean that's a phenomenal hit rate, isn't it? And then I know we were talking about the hooker and the skipper, who quite often, leads his side well and has a lot to say on the field as well. In Ryan Crossley, so he's had 6 Man of the Match nominations this season over the course of the campaign. So he's definitely one to look out for. And we heard about George Woodcock as well. So he's a guy that plays a lot at full-back. 11 tries for him this season as well. So the way that he links in from the back, I think he can also play centre as well.
Yeah. Also can kick a goal too.
He can kick a goal or two, yeah. So they've got a few options, haven't they, there? Now, from an Ince Rose Bridge point of view, I was dead impressed with veteran Kieran Eccleston. I'm sure he won't like me calling him a veteran, but obviously I remember him from many moons ago playing academy rugby at Lee. Now in those days he was quite a fleet of foot standoff, and he's now playing loose forward, but he's playing that old loose forward sort of role, isn't he? So a lot of the time if you watch a Super League game,
you don't get that as much, do you?
You see a loose forward and he plays prop. It's like having a third prop. But for me, Kieran Eccleston was playing like the third half-back role, wasn't he? So he was like linking everything and actually, giving the likes of TJ Boyd and Mason Fillingham the time. So we talked about Louis Walker having time.
Yeah.
Kieran Eccleston was giving those two players the time so that they could impress themselves on that game, which we saw the other week. And I think when he's played, they've been doing that all through the season.
It's very similar, I think, Parky, to the 13 at Shawcross Sharks. Tomlinson, I think it is.
Yeah, he's kind of in everything, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a good kicker, but he's one of those, he'll drive it in, he'll take it in, but he's got a nice pair of hands as well, and Eccleston's exactly the same.
I'm hoping that Robbie Valentine is back in for Ince Rose Bridge, because I know he certainly makes them tick, and whether he's playing in the halves or he's playing at loose forward, he can have an influence on a game. Decent goal kicker as well.
Yeah.
52 goals I think he's kicked in all competitions. Eccleston's kicked 35.
So again, good goal kickers.
Good goal kickers.
Valentine there, over 130 points.
Yeah.
Valuable player there.
But then I also want to mention his brother, Pete Valentine, who is also very versatile. Again, I've seen him play half-back, centre, second row.
Yeah.
Those are 3 very different roles, aren't they? And he does them all equally well, and he is, like one of those players. And Cal Hughes, who's got to be the tallest winger in the National Conference.
Tell me about it. That's the first time I'd seen him at the game on Saturday.
A couple of years ago, he scored 30-odd tries in the season. He's only played 17 games this year. Because I know he's been in the pro ranks. I think he was involved at Swinton for a couple of seasons. Unfortunately, wasn't getting on.
Yeah.
Which surprises me because he's got all the other attributes, hasn't he, that you'd want of a wingman. 13 tries in 17 games.
Well, not only that, if you've got a decent half-back who can put a nice little kick over in the corner, he's got a head and shoulders start over anybody who's playing against. And then if it's got anything like a decent jump. But the game of the weekend, we saw him chase down a couple of good little kicks and get over for tries there.
Yeah, really opportunism, isn't there? Sort of there with him. And then, just because I can't let the guys in the middle not have a mention or two. So quite often we talk about wingers, we talk about centres, we talk about half-backs. They're the glamour guys, aren't they? Let's be honest. And we don't really give the credence to the props and the second rows that perhaps we should do.
And the hookers.
But I'm going to mention Reece Cunningham. So Reece Cunningham has been a virtual ever-present for Ince Rose Bridge this season as a prop forward. Never lets anybody down. Still needs to score his first try of the season.
That's what I was just going to say, Parker. I don't think he scored this season yet. So as they say, cometh the hour, cometh the man.
But that's going to be a class game, isn't it? The Division 1 final. That's going to take place at Featherstone Rovers, 1:00 kick-off on Saturday. Be there or be square, I think is the saying.
You were really dragging them out today, are you?
I'm trying. Of course, that sets us up very nicely. And to be honest, that Division 1 game should set us up really nicely.
I agree.
For the National Conference League Grand Final. These two sides, two juggernauts this season. Siddal, top of the pile. Hunslet, who actually finished 4th, they've done things the hard way. They've defeated Wathborough Hornets, Rochdale Mayfield, and then West Hull to get through to the final. I mean, that is some run, that, isn't it?
But again, if there's a team that was going to do that, it was going to be Hunslet, wasn't it?
Yeah, and let's be honest, I could probably pick out about 8 or 9 of the players, for who could make a difference for them. But I'm going to go with probably some of these are the tried and trusted. So I'm going to mention, first of all, Tyler Dargan.
Yeah.
So this is another lad that knows where the try line is. 22 tries in 26 games. Jordan Gale, who rarely misses a goal, rarely misses a game. 222 points across all competitions this year. 98 goals.
That's unbelievable.
And 2 drop goals.
Look at that. Look, you're talking so many points and were they finished? It just shows you, doesn't it?
He is so important to them. Perhaps one of the unsung heroes is Harry Dodd this year. So he's a young fella who I had the pleasure of spending some time with in Ireland last year with the England Community Lions. And he's one of these guys that is comfortable playing both in the back row forward positions. Yeah. And also you can ask him to do a job out wide for you as well. So, he's played 27 games across all competitions this year, scoring 7 tries. So it's been a real season of progression and one of real consistency for Harry Dodd. I also want to mention Josh McClelland, who's been doing a great job at fullback this year in particular. So what they've tended to do when Craig McShane has been available, is he's been playing a little bit more of a loose forward role because he's such a hard player to stop. And to be honest, Hunslet tried this when they were playing in the Yorkshire Cup last year. Yeah. And we covered the final again at Featherstone. Yeah. And he played loose forward there. Started the season at fullback, but then in his absence, you've got the other lad Josh McClelland who's gone in there. And he's class. I mean, 15 tries across 25 games. I think he's definitely one to look out for. I feel like I should also be mentioning the likes of Matt Scott as well, who's done a tremendous job coming off the bench. He's like a replacement hooker. He was with Hunslet Warriors. So before Hunslet Parkside and Warriors merged, he was from the Warriors setup. And he's slotted into the combined efforts superbly. A very, very underrated player. From a Siddal point of view, one fella that really impressed me right at the start of the season when we saw them play against Clockface was Jamie Greenwood. And if you remember, when we spoke to the coach afterwards, he said he's not long been back from coming off a stint in Australia.
That's right, I remember you saying that.
And he's carried on that form throughout the season. So 12 tries, 10 goals, 25 games, and 4 man of the match nominations. So, so he's very important to the getting Siddal on the front foot and rushing forward from dummy half, supporting things as best that he can as well. But he definitely is one of those players that makes Siddal tick. I also want to mention Lewis Hosty. He's a guy that we've been talking about all the way through the season. We've mentioned about Jordan Gale being one of the, if not the top goal kicker. He's been pushed all the way, to be fair, by Lewis Hosty, who has been absolutely brilliant this season. 12 tries, 83 goals.
Yeah, so you got over 200 points there, so that's not bad, is it?
Also, the winger Sam Walsh has had a very, very prominent campaign. 19 tries in 21 games. And yes, here's another one for the big fellas up front. It doesn't happen for those guys out wide without the work in the middle. And I want to mention the job here being done by Josh Milnes in particular. A tremendous front row forward. The likes of Keenan Ramsden as well, who I think impressed me in that early Challenge Cup game that we covered where they were up at Clockface.
Ramsden, definitely.
And there's Conor McCallum, who's going over with the England Community Lions. He's been prominent in the second row. I think that's going to be a really, really close game.
It is, and I look at it this way from my point of view. As I say, and I said a couple of weeks back, Hunslet, once they get the side together, they're unstoppable. My only concern here, Siddal haven't turned them over this season, and they've had a fantastic season. Is there going to be a little bit of mind games there? Not mind games, but will it be in the back of the minds that we haven't done this? We've done all the others, all the big guys who we probably wouldn't have turned over, certainly not as regular as we'd done last season. But there's a team here that we know, as we were saying, they're on the treble, as it were, a chance of, and they'll want to be up for that. They've played at this ground a couple of times before.
Do you think some history might be weighing in there? Like for Siddal? Because, this will be the first grand final that they've played in since 2017. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
There's possibly even some of these players that they weren't playing first team rugby at the time. The last time that they were, right at the top of the tree. Yeah. I'm quietly confident for Siddal, though, because I just think they've been a really consistent side all the way through the season. I think that we're in for a really interesting
I think the whole
game.
day is going to be really, really good. And this game is going to top it off really, really well.
So that's going to be on at 3:15 kick-off. So the other game's kicking off at 1 o'clock over at Featherstone. This one kicking off at 3:15. All the action happening on Saturday. The action will be streamed as well. So a good friend of mine, Terry Garman, will be streaming the game. The link for that will be coming out over the next couple of days.
I think it's actually come out today, Parker.
Okay.
So if you want to get onto that and go on and obviously just click, I think it's subscribe, so you'll be then notified of when it's going to be broadcast.
Is that what they call hitting that bell?
Sort of that type of thing.
Yeah. Have I got my wording right? No. No. You're looking at me with a blank look there, Steve. You're looking at me like I've just caught the last bus from Lee. Yeah. But yes.
So we'll be commentating on that one, Parker.
I think it'll be a certain me and you.
It could well be.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking forward to.
And Paul Couch will be joining us as well.
That's excellent.
So we're really looking forward to working with Paul on the commentary and hoping that he can teach us a thing or two about things that we should be looking out for. About rugby, yeah. Because we talk a good game, but do we actually know a good game? Well, Paul will definitely put us right, won't he?
Yeah.
Keep us on the straight and narrow. Right, but it's been a fantastic show. It's going to be a fantastic weekend at the National Conference League Grand Finals. If you're there, well, we'll both see you there. And if you're not, well, tune in on YouTube. Steve, thank you ever so much yet again.
Pleasure, mate. Don't forget, next week will be our roundup of the season.
Yeah.
So if there's any interesting things you want us to have a little bit of chat about, or if there's anything you've raised which you think, hey Steve, hey Parky, what about this? What about our club or whatever? Please let us know. The other thing as well, which we will be going through, we'll be having a look at the predictions, if you remember, right at the very beginning of the season.
Oh, yeah, you picked these out, didn't you?
Well, we'll leave this till next week, because everything will be round up then. And we'll see how accurate, I think the word is, those predictions were. We've had a quick look through, and there's some interesting ones which I think will make a few people's sort of, not her curl, but it will sort of say, oh, yeah, so you think we were coming at X, Y, and Z, and look at us now. Yeah. That's really... And I knew when I saw those predictions right at the beginning of the season, I thought, yes, we've got to keep hold of that, because let's see how it fares. Yeah, it's going to be a good one, that too.
Yeah, it's going yellow, that piece of paper. You've done well to maintain it. You've done well to maintain it.
You know me, I'm stationary. I've got it all off you.
Oh, yeah. I think you're a little bit better organised than me, though, having said that. Steve, thank you ever so much.
Pleasure,
we'll join you again next week. But go and enjoy your rugby league, because we sure as hell will do this weekend.
Every tackle, every try, every scrum. Green Cooling is proud to be part of the Community Rugby League family.